So back in October 2024, I shared a video of the Strom Helene 1-month update in our area and just how much debris we had in the roads at that point. This is a short clip of some of that video. In that video, I also shared a repair of an all-powers power station, so that video was together. I'll have a link up in the top right as well as a link at the end of this video. And in this video, we'll take a look through some updates of the storm cleanup, starting off with a December the 20th update. 73 work days, over 2 million cubic yards collected of debris, 140 to 145 trucks in operation, and around 39,000 loads collected. And these loads are really big trucks. I'll share a video here. I was happy to be able to capture 2 trucks working really close to our neighborhood. I'll show some better footage later. This same spot in the road that's been cleaned up now, but the sun totally washed out this video. But it was great to catch 2 of these big debris trucks working the road in our area. So with 39,000 loads collected, with up to 145 of those trucks in operation, we have 12 debris management sites in Columbia County. This is just an overhead view of a similar debris site. I will share footage in just a minute of some of our debris sites. But we are starting to see a change in these roads. We're starting to see a lot of fences being fixed and put back up. We're starting to see a lot of debris getting cleaned up. And I'll share some footage here of one of the roads close to where I live. I'll put the before on top and a more recent video below. And hopefully you can still see some of the landmarks to notice that this is the same road. It's starting to look more like a neighborhood again, and I'm so thankful and praise God for it. It's just so much better. We see the foliage has changed over the months, but we can definitely see what was always a pretty neighborhood to me starting to look like a neighborhood again. We do still see some large stumps and root balls, and I know these videos are not lining up perfect, but hopefully you can tell that it's on the same road, just a few months apart. And I'm going to pause the video here to share with you. This is the exact location that I had the video of the 2 trucks that was working together in this area. So those 2 debris trucks were trying to clean up all of this debris, as we can see here, that has now been gathered. The root balls are going to be the last thing to be picked up. If I understand correctly, it's going to need a lot heavier equipment to pick up those root balls, or at least some of them. But yeah, a lot of these beautiful yards and homes in this area, which are a lot bigger and nicer than mine, by the way. I just don't live far from here. The road that I live closest to, unfortunately at this point, it still looks about the same. As you can see, the foliage has changed from the top to the bottom, but very little change. In some places, actually, debris has been added, so as you can imagine, cleanup is still going on even months later. But I do want to share with you here on this bottom video, if you look to the right, I do show a glimpse here that they're starting to clean up in this area and going down this neighborhood. And then of course we had an ice storm. So this is the same road that I just shared footage of in January, where we had an ice storm, which is not something we see a whole lot in Georgia. Here's a quick clip with not just ice in the road, but the debris of course still piled up. So it just makes things a little more difficult with ice on the road. We already have the road debris around as well, and I'm sure this is putting a damper on a lot of the cleanup efforts to some degree. And those guys are working 7 days a week, and I think the debris sites are running somewhat around the clock. They're working very hard. And then a week later, we had another ice storm. So all this had cleared up, and here I am heading to work one morning about a week later, and as you can see, this bridge here is covered in ice. I usually go to work around 5 a.m., but this day I didn't make it in until around 6. But a lot of people actually couldn't make it to work at all. The roads and bridges were so iced over that a lot of roads had to be shut down. But as far as my property, I didn't have a lot of damage. I did have some minor damage to the house, but I had a lot of trees down and a lot of fence damage. So a lot of this has been cleaned up. The house is pretty much repaired. The fence is a work in progress, as we had a lot of trees busting through the fence, and we also had the wind that pushed down a lot of the fence in the backyard. I did have some shed damage, which is not a big deal. So about 2 months after the storm, and we are making some progress on the fence. I'm starting to work in the back corner and got a few panels up. And then just a little over 90 days into the cleanup. Almost 3 million cubic yards have been collected. At times up to 200 trucks in operation. 52,000 loads have been collected, and we're still in what we call in the first pass. So it should be 2 passes of debris cleanup, and then the last pass should be mainly the root balls and stumps pickup. So I do want to share a little bit of footage here of one of our debris sites. So this is one of the 12 debris sites in Columbia County, Georgia, where I live. Just want to share a quick video of some of the debris and what they're dealing with at just one of the sites. And even though I'd love to get better footage and get a little closer, I'm not going to disturb anybody that's working like they are. Just going to get what we can from the road and just share what we can. This does give you a little bit of an idea of what they're working with and what we still have in front of us with all this debris to overcome. I'll also take time to share at Eisenhower Park in Richmond County. All of this is the Augusta area, but this is in Richmond County and I live in Columbia County. This is really close to the Augusta National where they play the Masters golf tournament. This is pretty much right across the street from it, and they do have a really large debris field here. And Richmond County has many debris fields operational as well. Being at a park, I could get this one that's a little bit better and more convenient to get some footage of the equipment in operation. They are working with a good many of their root balls already. Richmond County is further along in cleanup, a bigger county, but I don't think they had quite as much debris to clean up. But the Augusta area as a whole definitely got hit really hard with Helene. So the last update I have is from January the 24th, and 3.2 million cubic yards of debris have been removed from the right-of-ways. Up to 188 units working, and they've added 25 haul units. And we're still in the very first pass of cleanup because our area is just now getting some of that cleanup, so definitely still in the first pass. So this was one spot coming out of our neighborhood that was so dangerous. The people across down a private drive had loaded up this whole turning lane with a bunch of debris, and people just don't think about how dangerous they make in a situation. This should not have been in the turning lane, and as you can see, we got to go all the way to the white line to be able to see, which means the front of your car is already fully out in the road. So just this week, what a blessing to have this mostly cleaned up. Nothing but root balls left, and we'll sure take it. This is such a blessing to get that removed. I'll show a split screen difference here between the debris at the top and with most of it removed this week, just how much safer and nicer that is to get that junk removed. I definitely didn't want anyone to get hurt, including our own family members, and we were especially worried about school buses that come in and out of here a lot. Definitely didn't want anybody to get hurt, and people do fly down that hill from another subdivision that's close by. With the debris there or not, they really didn't care. And as far as my fence goes, I do have the main portion of the fence done. It's close to the road. I have spent a good bit of time the last couple months on the weekends and some days off trying to get this fence back in good shape. I still got some bad spots on the other side to patch up, but I do have some tools that I want to share a little bit about in future videos. I was able to buy an Ego auger to help get some more holes augered, as I had all these fence posts to replace. I also bought a really nice Milwaukee framing nailer that I want to talk about in a future video and maybe share how well this thing has worked, because it is truly an awesome nail gun. And I definitely want to lift up our neighboring states in South Carolina and definitely North Carolina that has gone through even more devastation than our area has seen. I definitely want to lift up all those who have lost their homes and their vehicles, and some even their family members. So I hope you enjoyed this update video on Strom Helene in the Augusta area. If you've not seen my first video, I'll have a link you can click on here at the end of this video. If you have any questions about the tools or anything else about the storm in our area, please leave it down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and God bless.